Alrighty. Hey guys, how are you doing today? Really excited to have you on. And thank you so much for joining. So today I'm going to be doing an interview with a friend of mine. For those of you who don't know, I am an Uber driver, and I'll be interviewing a friend of mine who is also an Uber driver, who's been an Uber driver for several years. His name is Richie. Hi, Richie.
Hello.
So remind me, how long were you an Uber driver for?
So I drove Lyft from the time I got out of the army in 2017 up until current day. Honestly, I still do it every once in a while. So,
Oh, I didn't know you still did it. I thought that when you started working sheets, you sort of phased out of it.
so I did, but now that I've left Sheets and moved on and I started working for a private company, I took like a $4 pay cut. So with that, like I do a lot more DoorDash now. Me and my wife will DoorDash together, so we kind of get the day together, but we're still making money.
Oh, that's nice that you could do that together. Also, I just noticed my chat thingy. I got some chats, but they're not showing up on the actual screen. So I will make sure to hmm. Well, Chad says hello, everyone. Hi, Chad. Thanks for joining. And Louis the Claw says hi, all. So thanks for joining, you guys. And what do you guys think of the topic? And if you guys have any questions about Uber drivers or our experiences, definitely feel free to throw them our way. I'm really excited to hear what you guys have to say about it. Nikki the Claw says howdy. Yeah, I don't know. I'll have to mess with this next time to figure out why the chat things aren't showing up, but I'll mess with that next time because I don't want to distract from the stream. But Nikki the Claw says howdy, and French Toast and Eggs says hello. Hey guys, thanks so much for joining. Wow, we got an active chat today. We got 7 viewers already. Nice. Yeah. The first question I have for you, Richie, and again, if any of you guys have questions, feel free to fire them away. Richie is an open book, and so am I. So Richie, can you think of what your weirdest funny story is from doing Uber?
So I would say funny story. I have a few different ones. So I have funny, weird, and then like funny, funny. So the weirdest funny thing that happened to me is it was my first summer driving Lyft. And for people that don't know, I was driving primarily in Pittsburgh, and this was during the Pride Festival that Pittsburgh has, which is a great festival, and I love it. But it makes Pittsburgh a madhouse. And I was driving my roommate's van at the time, so I could get the XL Lyft rides.
Hmm.
So it had third row seating in it, and I filled that entire fan with people in complete furry costumes, and not a single one of them said a word to me the entire 40-minute drive to their hotel. And the dude that was sitting in the passenger seat had his whole torso turned towards me in the driver's seat, and he just stared me down for 40 minutes.
Holy shit.
Right. And like just experiencing it the whole time, I'm like, oh man, this is where I die. Like, I don't know what these people look like. I'm gonna get mugged. Like, there's just everything bad going through my mind.
Oh.
Um, but yeah, none of them ever said a word. They didn't thank me when they got out of the car. Nothing. It's just the dude in the passenger seat stared at me, and then like everyone in the back of the van was just like staring out the window or hanging out.
Oh my God. That's really wild. Also, like I happened to be in Pittsburgh when there was a furry convention, and I like dropped on by to like check it out. Like I didn't have tickets or anything, so I just like walked into the lobby and like took pictures with a few
Right.
people who consented to that. Um and I like went to like this sub place to get food, and there was a furry sitting there, and like I sat down with him. I was like, "Hey, can I sit here?" And we like had a really good talk, and he was like a totally chill dude. Um I that's just so like I'm just like I can't imagine like I don't know any contact I've ever had with furries. They're like the most pleasant, like accepting,
Right.
welcoming, like
And
really
this
warm
this had
people.
to be this had to be a moment where these like six dudes were hanging out going, "Oh, we're gonna fuck with this guy." And they had to have planned it out. That's the only thing I can think of that would explain how that situation ever happened.
You know what? That makes sense. I could
I
see
mean, it
that
makes sense to
happening.
me because I would do that. You know what I mean? Like, think of me and Ryan. Like, I would do that with Ryan.
I fucking love that. I can't even just like having a guy be like just with like fucking cartoon dog face.
Yeah, like it was a dude in like pink fur, and then it was like a teddy bear costume, but he had like the teddy bear head on, and he was just staring at me. And there's so little space in this car that like that the head of his costume is being like caved in on top of him. So I just have this malicious teddy bear staring at me for 40 minutes.
Did you say the head was
Um,
caved in?
yeah, so it was like the head was soft, like it wasn't foam.
Oh.
So when he was sitting in the car, the head was collapsing in because of how tall he was inside the car with the costume on.
Oh my God. Yeah, at first when you said the head was collapsed in a little bit, I like was picturing like the Breaking Bad bear. Like I thought it was like
Oh,
a reference to that, but like I love the visual of like the car is just too short and his head is just squished.
yeah, he's just squeezed in there.
Oh my
And then I
God.
would say funny moment was I picked up this girl, and I want to say it was like near the Oakland area, but like you know those dense like urban suburbs that are in Pittsburgh. And this girl gets in my car and she's like, "Listen, this is going to sound really crazy, but I need you to let out two 3 second long honks and then wave." And I was like, okay. So I do it, and then I see this little kid's head pop up in a window and just both hand waving at me. And I was like, "Oh, this is the most wholesome moment ever." And she was like, "Yeah, my son, like, he gets nervous if you don't do that before I leave." And I was like, "Oh,
Oh.
okay."
Wow, I thought it was going to be a drug deal, so that is way different than where my mind went.
Right? Yeah, no, whole wholesome moment, like, gave me a good chuckle.
Aw.
Um, yeah, and then there's always a few funny characters. Like, I've had a few, like really funny drunk people, you know what I mean? That they're just good at having conversation and they're telling me some stories, you know?
Oh wait, I think I figured out why that wasn't showing up. I see, yeah, drunk people are pretty chill. I want to take a moment to mention the chat. French Toast and Eggs says, "I've had pleasant experiences with furries, but not gonna lie, that would freak me out." Um, yeah, I'm glad furries are getting more of a positive rap, and it's not just because I low key am one. Um,
Right, right, right.
Also, Louis the Claw just subscribed. Thank you so much, Louis, for subscribing. I really appreciate you. That means a whole lot. I'm also pretending that you're not just sitting right over there in the same room as me, which you are. um, Louis says, ha ha ha. See, now I don't know why the chat box isn't showing up for you guys, but I'll just read the chats for now. He says, happy to support in a smiley face. Um, so another question. Also, if you guys have any questions, feel free to hit me up. Again, I'll figure out another time why the chat box isn't showing up. But um, so okay. Weirdest scary story, or I guess like just a scary story in general. But I guess aside from the furries just staring you down.
Right. So I have a lot of scary stories. I've seen some shit, man. So I would say the most unsettling situation I've ever been in was I picked up this lady and she was not the person in the profile picture or the person's name. And what it turned out to be was her son was in a permanent foster home, like he was adopted into this family,
Hmm.
and she was trying to have a relationship with him. But she definitely was still the most like coked out crackhead I've ever met in my life. Um, and she was really unpleasant to deal with. She smoked in my car, like just lit a cigarette up out of nowhere.
Oh my
I was like,
god.
"Whoa, bro, you can't do that."
That's
Um,
disgusting. I would be so fucking
right.
pissed.
I was furious, and the exit that I was taking to get like onto the highway to take her home was closed, and the GPS wouldn't reroute me. It would just circle me back around and tell me to take that exit.
Oh my
So
God.
I was stuck for like 20 minutes trying to figure out what to do while this like she was fucking high, super high. And don't get me wrong, I'm cool with like recreational drug use. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? But there's a point where like you're too high to function and you shouldn't be in public, and she was well past that point.
Oh God. Yeah. Yeah, I never like I've had people get in my car and be like, "I'm on Molly." Well, one person told me they were on Molly and I'm like, "Hey, good for you, man. That's fine."
Right?
Like,
Cool.
but
Like that's fine. Just like she's not making coherent sentences. Fucked up.
uh yeah,
And this
I
is after a child visit with her like biological kid. Like it like it tore me apart to see that like there's this really hard family situation, and then on top of that she was just bonkers. Like it's scary to the point where I was like, man, this is the kind of person that just randomly stabs you out of nowhere.
Jesus Christ. Yeah, that's fucking scary. And it is very unsettling when people are so like just out of it that they're not making sense. Like I had a guy the other day who like just stopped making sense as he was talking and it was like freaking me out. Um
Right.
I had one guy get in, he like couldn't find my car right away, and when he got in, he's like, "I fucked up." And I was like, "It's fine." And he's like, "Nope, I fucked up." And he just kept saying he fucked up, and then I like decided to turn on some music and he goes, "Go ahead, turn on music. I fucked up." And then
Wow.
yeah, and then he picked up a phone call and he was totally normal. And then he gets off the phone and he just goes right back to saying, "I fucked up." Like just over and over.
Right. And I wonder if that's just like homeboy is so socially awkward that he can't handle it. You know what I
Uh
mean?
yeah, I don't know. It's like it's not awkward unless you make it awkward and you're making it really fucking awkward. Um
Right.
also
And I would say, oh, go ahead.
I was just going to read the chat real quick. I don't mean to cut you off.
You're good.
Just since yeah, again, I don't know why the chat thing isn't showing up. But let's see. Pharaoh City says, "Hey, Shorty Pop in chat. Hey, Pharaoh City, it's good to see you. And how are you doing tonight?" And also Louis the Claw says it's the unpredictability that's really scary. Yeah. Yeah, like what Richie, what you were saying, when you said like this is like the kind of person that just randomly stabs you. It's like that's a real fucking thing. Like you never
Right.
know.
And
Like
like I'm sure you've seen it driving in Pittsburgh. Like there's a lot of portions of Pittsburgh where it's like, oh, it's either going to be like somebody that's just hit a really hard part in their life and they're trying to get everything back together, and they're living in like some sketch neighborhood to try to get their life together and they're super chill, or it's just some crazy crackhead and you're going to deal with crazy crackhead antics the entire time.
yeah. Oh my God. See, I've never had like I had one per it's weird because like there are some like meth heads that I'll have great conversations with. Like
Right.
I had one it was a gay guy talking about his boyfriend and they were both like they both used meth and he's like, "Yeah, my boyfriend, we do meth together, but he just like can't handle his meth." And it's like, "Oh yeah, doesn't
It's
that suck when people
right.
can't handle their meth?" Like just trying to
Yeah.
relate. But it's like
Yeah,
I
I hate it when my friends can't hang with me while I'm chugging down meth. Like, it's nuts, and I'm not saying that like the ghetto neighborhoods are just the bad neighborhoods, because I my worst Lyft ride ever. I picked up a man in Squirrel Hill, which is like the nicest gentrified neighborhood you could come across in Pittsburgh,
yeah.
right? Um, and he proceeded to elaborately tell me how he would use a dildo on me and how bad he wanted to like sexually please me. And at no point in this conversation was I like, oh, I enjoy what we're talking about. Please continue. Like I was like, bro, that's a little excessive. And then he would like start conversation about like, oh, the weather's nice or something like this. And he'd then be like, oh, but yeah, I'd really love to suck your cock. And I'd be like, dude, can you chill the fuck out?
Oh my God. Yeah,
Right.
that's one thing is like guys will make like they'll say some creepy things, but like they've never been that overt. And I don't know if like I don't know like from what you've told me, I don't know if it's just because you did it longer or what, but from what you've told me, it almost seems like it subverts the expectation. Like it seems like from what you and Ryan and Willard have told me that the sexual harassment against male drivers is so much more rampant than what
Yeah,
I've
dude.
experienced.
I've had some pretty crazy stuff. Like there's this person that I picked up, and I was taking them to a funeral, and whenever I got to the cemetery, it ended up being the wrong one. So then I had to drive them to a different cemetery in Pittsburgh. So they were in my car for like 40 minutes, and essentially what happened within this 40-minute conversation um, was I discovered that this person fronts a prostitution ring as a massage therapy. Like they go to people's houses and give them like personal massages, and then they just handle all the money through Cash App and shit, and they say that it's for massages. Um, but they're all transvestites. Um,
Oh, I think that's
and
a not kosher word anymore. Not to like
oh, is it
interrupt you.
not? I'm sorry, I didn't know
Oh,
that.
oh, you're
What
okay.
would be the appropriate term?
I think just trans people, I think is
Just
the word.
transgender?
Yeah, not to cut you
Okay.
off or anything. If I mean,
No, if I'm saying something inappropriate, I'd like somebody to correct me. I try to be politically correct. You know what I mean?
yeah, yeah.
Um,
That's
yeah.
okay.
So
I
it was like a transgender prostitution ring. And the person that like they weren't the pimp, but they were like the bottom bitch. Um, was like, hey, do people ever do rides under the table with like Lyft drivers? And I was like, yeah, my roommate has a guy that he drives like 7 days a week. And that guy pays him like $900 a month to do so.
Oh, wow.
Uh, and they were like, no, I was thinking more, I hit you up for a ride, you drive me around and stuff, and then like I can suck you off or you could fuck me if you want. And then we go on with our day. And I was like, oh, well, sexual favors don't pay my bills. So I'm unfortunately going to have to say no.
That's a great response to that. Like I don't even know. Yeah, it's that's so weird though. Also, Pharaoh City said I've been better to be honest, but it's not bad. Thanks for asking though. Um oh, I'm sorry that things aren't going too good. What's up, Pharaoh City? Also Pharaoh City said yikes to what you were talking about before about like the creepy guy like talking about the
Oh
dildo.
yeah. Yeah,
Um
and like, dude, it's very rampant. I would say, like, specifically when I focused on driving Lyft as my like main source of income, Lyft put so much stuff out about like, hey, if you're a driver and you would make advances on a passenger, we're going to terminate you because it's a problem and people can't chill out essentially. Um, but dude, there was at least twice a day whenever I was driving like 12 hours a day where just some weird out of the wall like some girl be like, "Oh, well, I'll show you my boobs for a free ride." And it's like, "Bro, seeing your tits isn't worth the $35 that you're going to pay me for the surcharge for this ride."
yeah, it's like you can fucking go on Pornhub or like also just look at your fucking wife. Like
Right. Yeah. Like another thing is I was in a relationship the whole time that I drove Lyft. So there was never a moment where I was like, oh yeah, I'll take that blowjob. Like it was more of a I need to pay my bills. So unless your blowjobs make me poop money, like we're not doing this. And yeah, it like guys and girls both, like I've been offered like to have sex with people for free rides. Um there's a this guy that I picked up from the White Rhino, which is a strip club in Pittsburgh. Shout out White Rhino.
I've never even
Um,
heard of them before, but now I know.
yeah, so I picked up this dude and two girls, which I don't. I'm assuming they weren't strippers because it was not late enough for them to be closed, right? But they were like, "Oh yeah, we're going to this party. Um, would you want to come pick us up at like 4 a.m. when we're all fucking just shit faced trashed?" And I was like, not really. Like I usually stop driving around 2:30, 3 o'clock, so that'd be too late for me.
Yeah.
Um, And the dude was like, "I'll give you $100." And I was like, "Look, bro, I could really use that money, but like, maybe if you guys want to turn in at like 3 whenever I'm done driving and meet me the hour, I would do it for less money than that." Um, and the chick like leaned over like the back seat and was like, "If you pick us up at 6 a.m., I'll let you fuck me no matter how drunk I am and give you $200."
Oh
And
no.
I was
Oh
like,
no.
"Whoa, no, that's okay. Like, sorry." And then at that point, I was like, "Look, guys, there's nothing you could say. There's nothing you could offer me. Like, go ahead and just hop out my car and let me be."
Oh my
Um,
God.
but yeah, dude, like, and I'm a vet, so like, the army teaches you very well that like, if they're drunk, it's not consent. It's
Yeah.
not. And this woman is already drunk, and it's already a poor decision to be like, "Hey, this person is more than willing to sleep with me for less than $100 worth of service, essentially, right?" So, how many people sleep with this person on a daily average? Because it's not going
Oh.
to be a small amount. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? Like,
that's how you catch something.
yeah, that's
Yeah.
how you get the clap, bro. And
The
like,
clap.
your boy's been around the block and he's never had an STD. So I guess I'm doing something right.
Good on you. Also,
Yeah.
Lucky Pajamas says, I took an Uber with one of my friends in like 2014, and the driver was telling us a bunch of conspiracy theory shit, showing us YouTube videos and everything. Oh my God. I can't even imagine like just being like, "Hey, like did you know that I don't even know. Like just trying to convince you some flat earth shit where you're like, "Dude, can I just
Right.
fucking get to my destination?" Also,
Dude, I had a. Oh, go ahead. I'll tell you the story after.
okay, yeah, sorry, I don't mean to cut you off.
Oh, you're good.
I have a couple chat things that I'm gonna read off real quick. Lucky Pajamas says a blowjob that makes you poop money is called a blumpkin, by the way.
Is that what a Blumk? You remember Bat Dad's kid named his pumpkin Blumpkin the pumpkin?
No. Also, a blumpkin is just like a blowjob when you're pooping, by the way. But
Oh, yeah. No, I don't want
that's
it
the
while I'm
joke.
pooping. I want to poop money. I want
Yeah.
I want silver $50 to come out my booty hole.
That I that would probably be less likely to clog your intestine than dollar bills. I'm like thinking through the logistics of it. You probably don't
I
want it to
mean,
be
is it
a
like
check. It's
Is it like a turd that has a bill in the center? Like, the soap you can buy and it's like, oh, you could get $1 or you could get 20. Just turds like that.
Oh my God. Somebody needs to make that a business idea. I'm sure somebody's kid ate money and they had could like could you, yeah.
Oh, bro, I've definitely pooped money out before.
I I what how old were you? Was this like yesterday?
Um, no, I was too old though. So me and my mom had a bad relationship growing up. That's not the point of this story, but whenever we would go through the drive-through, she would keep the bills and then hand me the change, and I'd be like, "What do you want me to do with this change?" And she'd be like, "Just keep it." Now, I to my core hate having pocket change, and I haven't as far back as I can remember. So what I started to do was she would hand me the change, and I would just be like, "Bottoms up, bitches," and just eat all of the change. And I would swallow it whole, and she would get so mad at me
Oh
and be like,
God.
"What the fuck are you doing?" And I was like, "Well, if you're not going to tell me where to put it, I'm going to eat it." And ever since then, she stopped handing me change.
Oh my God. I don't even like to eat after I touch money. I have to like thoroughly wash my hands. So that's like, oh, that's
Ah, bro,
so
I'm an
nasty.
animal.
Oh
I'm an
man.
animal.
I mean,
Oh,
I'll
it
eat
doesn't, nothing phases me.
I'll eat food off the floor, but like money, it's like that's been up somebody's nose or somebody's ass, and I don't want to know which, but it's been up there. Um French toast and egg says the way or shit out apparently. The way it was explained to me is that a transvestite is different from someone who is transgender. I don't know if I said this, but this is French toast and egg saying that. Where a transvestite is someone who dresses as the opposite sex. I'm not aware of the other term other than cross-dressing, but I'm not familiar which term is appropriate to use. This is just what I've been told by other friends in the LGBTQ community in the past. When was that? Because I feel like trans is like a relatively new term that I started hearing in the past like
It was
Several years?
probably it was probably early 2018. It was a while ago.
I think I heard it back in like 2014-ish, but
Yeah, I'm not sure. I mean, I also am very out of touch with that. Not because I choose to have ignorance in it. It's just I don't the I just don't deal with it in my day to day life. You know what
oh,
I
that's
mean? It's not.
okay. I
Yeah.
somebody corrected me because I was talking about, actually this kind of goes back to what we were talking about before. You said about a prostitution ring. I was going to do a stream about the psychology of like what a prostitute goes through, and like somebody was like, "Oh, how would you feel about using the term sex worker because that's more of like appropriate nowadays?" And I didn't know that. So I do the same thing where I'm just like, "Oh, I didn't know that." Um
Right.
Also, French Toast and Egg says once on a 6-hour bus ride, I gotta stop leaning out of camera because I put on my little glasses here because I can't see. Um, Once on a 6-hour bus ride, my Greyhound bus driver talked to me intensely about how real Sasquatch was for literally 3 hours. Oh my god, I had a fucking Lyft customer. I like conspiracy theory people because I like to mess with them to see how far the rabbit hole goes and see if I can push them
Right.
past it. Like I had one
How long
guy.
till they put the tinfoil on?
Well, I had one guy. I said I'm going to Portland. He said, "Oh, you should see if Bigfoot's there." I'm like, "Ha!" And I chuckle. And he goes, "Why are you laughing? He's real." And so I decided to like, I'm like, I wonder how far I could push this. So I'm just like, "Yeah, man. I heard the reason we can't see Bigfoot is because he transfers to different dimensions." And the guy goes, "That's just crazy." I love how that's.
That was the step too far.
Yes, that was his too far. Um.
My my funny conspiracy story, real quick. I
Oh, go
There's
ahead. I'm
a
sorry.
girl. This girl was friends with my sister in high school, and hopefully, I'm not giving him enough detail so people figure out who this is. But I'm assuming not. So she was best friends with my older sister in high school. After high school, she kind of like did her thing, became a hardcore hippie, and is a super avid flat earther. Like to the core, the Earth is flat to this woman. And she also has an OnlyFans. Now, I'm not saying that I am subscribed to said OnlyFans, but what I will say is she puts some funny ass captions like "these tits aren't flat like the Earth," and then does a topless picture. And I just think it's the dumbest fucking thing ever. But it's such good marketing. It's such good marketing because she's being genuine. But anyone that's not a flat earther is going to be like, "Oh, this is funny."
Oh my god. Yeah, I've like joked that the earth was flat like among like friends and family, but I would never want to joke about
No,
it in
I'm
a way that people would think I was serious.
No, she is too. Like I'm talking on her personal Facebook. We'll go on Facebook Live and do like 6.5 hour rants to her and her three flat Earth friends about how the Earth is flat, and I'll just pop in and watch it every once in a while, and it's just fucking it's great. It's so
Oh my
good.
god. I yeah, I anytime like people will there's people that like bring up like vaccine conspiracies, like they'll be like whenever I'm driving, they'll be like this one woman was like, I don't even remember what the fuck she said, but she said something about like, oh, in this one country they're already putting microchips in people's vaccines, and I all I said was, oh, which country? And she goes, uh, well, I don't remember. It's like oh,
Right? And
there's nothing.
there's so many times where people like just make up random shit on the spot, and then you're like, oh, could you cite that information for me? And then they just go, well, yeah.
Oh my god. Pharaoh City says, I'm gonna put my glasses on so I don't keep leaning out of camera. I remember this one Uber driver was telling me about the hidden meanings, quote unquote, behind passages in the Bible and why modern Christmas is blasphemous tradition. It was an interesting ride home to the airport. Oh my god, that would suck so bad because it's like, at least as a driver, if somebody annoys me, I could just be like, "Hey, you want to listen to music? Let's put on music." And then I'll just put on music and like turn it up like so that
Right,
they
but in
stop
this case,
talking.
they're the one in charge. Like,
Oh
there's
God.
no music in that ride. And a real quick clip here. I'm somebody who's studied a lot of different religions, and a big part of the Bible and people being like, "Oh, this crazy thing makes sense because of this." If you look at the Bible as a whole context being written, it's one of the most rhetorical books around. And with that, and it being such a rhetorical book that uses a lot of like allegories and stuff like that, you can make it apply to really anything you want. And that's why there's like, when you talk about cults, a lot of cults refer to the Bible just because it's so easy to make what's in the Bible reference your agenda or motive behind the message you're trying to put through.
Wow, that's a good way to put it. Like, I do appreciate when people don't take the Bible literally, because I think like it's silly to take it literally, because but like I mean at the same time it's like I never really thought about the fact that you could literally translate it to mean anything. And like, you
Yeah,
know,
like, and it's not even that, it's just it happens to be that way. That book was written specifically for that purpose.
hmm. I kind of always just thought it was by schizophrenics who thought God was talking to them, but uh
Yeah, no, bro, like it was the Christian church. You have to understand, like the Bible was written like 500 years after Christianity supposedly started. So there was already an established like uh, Christian church that put this book together by taking different stories in that 500-year span that were relative to what they were trying to push. And with that, uh, they they picked very rhetorical stories. Do I want to make this book that I'm designing for people that don't even know how to fucking read 1,000 pages long or 10,000 pages long? Well, if I'm going to make it 1,000 pages long, I need to find one story that applies to 7 different meanings that I want to put behind it. So that way, whenever I give you one sermon, and I give you another sermon 6 months later, and I reference the same story but give it two allegorical different meanings, you're not going to notice it because it's been 6 months and you barely pay attention in church, anyways.
yeah, and I want to take a moment to like like for anybody who is religious, I don't have any problem with religion as long as you're not like using it in a malicious way or using it to judge people or anything like that. Like I have a friend who both of her parents are dead, and having God and to talk to and the Bible to read for guidance like gives her meaning in life. And it's like, dude, if that like does that for you and you're not hurting anybody and that just helps your like that fits you, that's great. Like I don't have any problem with people believing in different stuff than me in that sense as long as they're not hurting anybody. Like it's just what we're talking about specifically is when people push their own agendas in a toxic way. Like I used to be religious, like I was raised Catholic, and there were times where I would get something like actually out of church. There were times where I got something out of like a religious retreat, which I mentioned in my like stream with my dad. And so I definitely don't want to like knock religion as a whole. I'm only knocking like toxic
Right,
theism.
absolutely. And I would say, like, as somebody that's I've read the Bible probably over 200 times. Like I respect the religion grind, and it's not something that I would say I personally partake in.
Mhm.
But on that same note, there's a lot of good things that come from religion.
Mhm.
And it's not something that anyone should ever be ashamed of for believing. You know what I mean? Just
Yeah.
because I don't believe it doesn't mean that you're wrong for believing that. Um and definitely, like, so, fun fact about me, Danny. I don't know if you knew this or not, but I was a Mormon for like 2 years.
Really? When was
Yeah.
this?
So it was when I was in the army. I converted when I was in AIT. There was a guy that I was in basic training in AIT with, that he needed somebody to go to church with him, and he was the only Mormon in my unit, or I guess my basic training unit. I don't want people to think it was like my real army unit.
Uh-huh.
But in basic training, you have to have a battle buddy go with you everywhere. I was somebody who wasn't going to church, so they asked me just to like tag along with him, so he had a battle buddy so he could go praise his God. And I was like, yeah, sure. And let me tell you, they might not be a cult, but boy, are they convincing.
Wow, I believe it. Like that's the
And like
way.
90% of the Mormons that I was like in the church with and met were like, listen, bro, I'm not saying that Joseph Smith reappeared when my grandpa was alive, but I am saying that this church has really good moral values and I respect it for that and I'll follow it because of that.
Oh. Well, that's I'm glad that like helps people. Um
Yeah,
Also, real quick, Pharaoh City, I have my glasses on. I don't need to lean forward like an old lady. Um Pharaoh City says, I remember this one Uber driver was oh wait, I read that one. French Toast and Egg says, "Oh my god, I should have done." Oh, in reference to the Bigfoot thing I said. Uh she says, "Oh my god, I should have done that with my bus driver. He went into the hole. The government is hiding Sasquatch because he was a failed experiment and said he went to Area 51 and saw him." Wow. That must have been a fucking crazy DMT trip.
bro, real quick, I know that this is the Lyft and Uber episode, but can we talk about like why doesn't like 10 people in a group just walk onto Area 51? They can't kill all of you. They can't.
They can
They're
and
just
they will. They can and they
but if
will.
like if you Facebook live stream it and make it an event to a point where too much public eye is on it, they can't kill you. If they do, there would be a mutiny in the government so quick, right?
They can
So
and they will.
but enough people will see it. That's what it like Markiplier. You need Jacksepticeye. Those two need to just walk on the one of those bases live streaming. And what are they going to do? Kill Jacksepticeye or Markiplier?
I mean,
The
they
the
could
world would
smoke.
explode.
You make it sound like he's like the president.
They're not, but like,
I'm
okay,
teasing.
so
I'm teasing.
if Markiplier did a live stream and the president did a live stream, who do you think's going to have more people watching?
You know what? I
If they were at the
get what
same
you're
time
saying.
and they're the only two major figures that are live streaming at the time, and everyone in the world had nothing to do, I would argue that Markiplier would have a stark larger audience.
V Falcon says, I've heard Mormons are in great shape because they take daily morning hikes. They take hikes? I'm in, says Louie. Ferris City says, didn't they try that in 2020, a Facebook event, Storm Area 51, or what have you? Yeah, they did do that, and I don't think it
So
worked.
they did. I remember it. I can't remember if I was in the military or not, but I remember like talking to my military buddies about it. And there were definitely like directives put out that were like, hey, so this is probably going to happen. Like, we might have to activate the army. Like, they were freaking the fuck out
Holy
because they
shit.
really thought, yeah, they were taking it 100% serious, and they were like, if people step foot on this base, we're gonna shoot them. Like,
Wow.
put out memorandums and shit, pretty much saying like, we understand that this is just for social media, but don't cross that line because if you do, there's going to be real repercussions for your real adult decisions.
Did people end up doing it, or were they like, okay, this is a
I
bad
don't
idea?
believe so. So there were people that like camped outside of like the no pass line, but I don't think anyone actually crossed. And if anyone did, they were just arrested. It's not like anyone got shot.
Oh. Ryan had talked about going there, and I was like, Ryan, don't. um,
Yeah, I rather die, man. Don't do it.
uh,
But I'm
yeah.
saying like, let's get the top 10 streamers on YouTube. Top 10 out of the world. Just send them in there. They can't kill all of them. They can't. The repercussive blowback would be too much. They would just have to accept it.
Louis
And
the
the other thing is, they already confirmed aliens are real.
I I didn't follow that much, but I like don't doubt it. I'm gonna read some of the chat real quick. Louis the Claw says, I remember that and all the memes that followed. We need a squadron of Naruto runners on the left flank. Oh yeah, I remember the Naruto run thing. V Falcon says, "Yeah, pretty sure their plan was to Naruto, Jesus Christ, run into there." Lucky Pajama says that would kill. They would kill Markiplier immediately. V Falcon said, "Stole the words out of my mouth, Louis the Claw," in reference to the Naruto run thing. Nikki the Claw says, "I kind of really miss that meme." um. Oh. So not to change the topic, but to the Uber thing. Um. What I'm like looking at a few things. Actually, on the topic about the sexual harassment thing, we were talking
Right.
about like the differences between like me being a girl and you being a guy. Like, I have people call me like honey and sweetie and things like that. One guy called me mommy and I like wanted to die. I did call him out on that and he stopped. But like, those are some like passive things where it's like they make it hard for you to call them out on it because it's like subtle. But like, I don't think it gets taken serious. Like, I don't think it gets taken seriously enough when it happens to men because like if a girl hits on a guy, it's like, well, he likes it. Like, man must
Right.
like tits.
Right.
um,
And like I said, my whole time driving Lyft, I was with my wife. We were dating at the time and then engaged for a portion of it. Um, but yeah, dude, and like there we're talking like blatant women would like grab my leg while sitting in the passenger seat and like no indication of anything like that. So I don't know if I just have this like, man, I want to fuck everything personality and people just think I'm DTF all the time. Um, but like, yeah, it happened quite frequently. And I would say that like I definitely had way more good experiences driving Lyft than I did bad, right?
good.
Um, so it's not like I would ever tell somebody don't drive Lyft because all of these bad things will happen to you.
Oh yeah,
But
yeah,
what I will say is if you're planning on driving Lyft for a full-time career, you need to understand that you're in the public service industry just like you would be inside a gas station or a restaurant or any convenience store, and anyone that works in any of those industries will tell you, one in like every 20 customers is usually just a fucking nutbag and I have to deal with it.
yeah,
Like when I managed Sheets, dude, I had so many crazy experiences. I We could do an entire 2-hour podcast about the insane stuff that I saw working at Rochester Sheets. Like the dude that got stabbed by his ex-girlfriend who had a PFA against him, but he drove his go-kart because he can't have a driver's license from all the DUIs he had. He drove his go-kart to her house, crashed it into her neighbor's porch, ruining her neighbor's porch, then went into her house to get his PS3 back. She stabbed him for breaking into the house. He then had a friend pick him up and drop him off 2 blocks over at my sheet store. And I go outside to smoke a cigarette. I have a former employee standing next to him, shit faced drunk, while he's sitting on the circular table seating outside, smoking a cigarette, fucking bleeding out in my parking lot.
what the fuck?
Like it's insane shit. It's so insane in Rochester Sheets. Shout out to my peeps over there. I miss them, but fuck that place. Fuck that place.
Jesus, Jesus
Yeah.
Christ. Oh my god, I fucking this is
People shooting up in my bathroom all the time. Like there were fucking I went into my pop cooler. Like how they have the big L-shaped coolers that you grab the pop out of like the glass doors, right?
uh-huh.
Um, so there's a door to get behind there into like storage area and refill the shelves back there. Dude, I walked back there and like there's a dude finger and his girlfriend back there, and we're talking like fully grown adults just fucking around in public,
Oh
being
my god.
nuisances. I've had like drug addicts like chase each other around the store yelling like, "Where's my drug? Where's my money?" Fucking Sheets for the Kids is a charity that they do where they buy Christmas presents for kids every Christmas, and usually each individual sheet store sponsors like 16 families and gives them like a $700 limit,
Oh.
and cure like buys presents that the kids tell them to buy. They make a list and then the employees go and buy them.
Mhm.
Like super amazing charity. Fucking people running in, snatching the donation jar with maybe $2 and pennies in it.
Oh my
Like,
god.
yeah, the convenience industry sucks, and I could go down a whole rabbit hole with that, like I said. But
Yeah.
yeah, dude. So being in the public industry, people need to realize that they're just going to deal with some crazy people sometimes. And usually, 9 times out of 10, if you approach it as a calm, sane person and genuinely try to de-escalate the situation, it'll either de-escalate or you're going to get stabbed. But one way or another, you making money, so who cares?
Yeah, I learned like from this most recent experience, like I think I had mentioned, that guy that kept leaning up in front and like touched me and was like getting all upset. Like
Right?
normally I just kind of like, will carry on with the conversation and act like everything's fine, but this is the first guy that I was like I'm just going to ignore him cuz he's freaking me out. And like that made him really mad and that kind of freaked me out where it's like, "Oh my god, like I really have to I have to pander to these people." Like usually one thing I'll do for
Right.
my safety is I keep a bunch of shit in the front seat. And like guys have even I'll keep like a pile, like a really high pile of like my coats and shit, just whatever so that when people even approach the front seat they could like they don't even try to get in cuz they see all that shit. I've even had guys be like, "Can I sit in the front?" And I'm just like, "You can sit in the back. The back's fine." It's like, "No, you can't sit in the front, you
Right.
fucking dumbass. That's why I have all this shit here." But like,
And the best thing that I could say for that kind of shit, so when I first started driving Lyft, I drove Tyler, or not Tyler, Ryan's car, his Chrysler 200 that he had, the black one.
mhm.
And he had a dash cam in there. And when people would get in, I would point at the dash cam and I'd be like, "Hey, yo, just so you know, my dash cam records both ways." And then just continue on like nothing happened. Right. And it didn't do that. But by prefacing that, I had people act way different than whenever I finally started driving with a car that I owned. And I didn't have the dash cam, so I couldn't make up that lie. But damn, dude, you tell people that that camera's watching what they're doing, and they don't do nearly as much crazy weird shit as they do normally.
Wow. I have a camera up. I'm gonna register it with Uber. Yeah, that's
And
really
bro,
good to know.
they make dash cams that record both ways, and they do have a lot of fairly inexpensive options. So yeah, anyone that's listening, or even you, Danny, if you want to take that advice, buy the one that goes both ways. Because whenever they start doing that creepy, weird shit too, you don't have to cater them to the point where you're kind of letting it be okay that they're doing this shit. But you can point at that camera and be like, "Look, bro, if you don't stop, I'm gonna go ahead and just file a police report for sexual harassment. And this camera is literally pointing at you. So we can either finish the ride and you can sit there and you can be polite, or you can get out of my car and I'll call the cops right now."
That's really good advice. Thank you.
Yeah.
I'm gonna start doing that whenever guys get creepy. And like, I was looking online at like those plexiglass sneeze guard things, and I was like, this really doesn't fucking do anything. But I found this like dog net that you put up to keep your dog from jumping in the front seat when you go on like a road trip or take your dog to the vet or whatever. And
Right.
it's coming in on Friday, but it's going to reach all the way to the ceiling and the sides so that I don't have to worry about people reaching up towards me anymore. So I think that'll give me like a nice added sense of safety. Also Louis the Class says that's really smart. Um, yeah, that definitely brings me some comfort knowing that that's an option. Definitely going to do that. And like I learned if you register your camera with Uber, uh basically it'll say like, "Oh, you're going to be recorded on this trip." And I want to put like up a sign. Once I like get my dog net up, I'll have like more room for signs, and I'll probably just put like a neon sign that says like, "Say cheese, you're being recorded," or something. Um
Right.
I'll
And
probably do that.
yeah, and I like let me know because I could definitely resin print you one that has like a neon and a glow in the dark color to it.
Oh, that's a good idea. Yeah, I have these lights, these string lights that I have to hang up
Mhm.
so that people can see my signs because I do have a sign that I had to put up that says please don't hit on me, you'll be asked to leave, but like, guys late at night, they don't fucking see it and whatnot.
Yeah, so for everyone to know, I have an online 3D printing company that I'm trying to start. And with that, I have a resin printer and a normal like PLA extruder printer. And I offer painting as a service with that as well. So one of the paints that I have is it's a clear matte finish, but it's also a glow in the dark. So it looks normal during the daytime, and then at nighttime it glows in the dark, just like it's the same like green glow that the old stars and moons that you would have on your ceiling as a kid.
Mhm.
It's like that color.
Okay. Do you think a car light would charge it easily or do you think you'd have to like consciously charge it?
I think that just the ambient light from like daylight would probably charge it enough. It really doesn't need a lot of charge to it.
Okay. Yeah, if you want to put the link to your shop or like what or whatever contact info in the chat so people can see it, or like also let us know too, but this way they could copy and paste it or whatever. Yeah, share however people can get a hold of you so that way you could like, plug your business.
Right. Yeah, I don't have any like official business shop or anything. So I'd say my Instagram would probably be the best. That's also where like I post pictures of things that I'm painting and like things that I've printed. So even if you guys just want to see the cool stuff that I'm up to with my printers, my Instagram is rdaniels122.
Okay. Um, yeah, thanks for sharing that. And yeah, guys, definitely check that out. And real quick, I want to credit this painting. I am at my friend Louie and Nick's house right now. One second. Nick Kokis. I had to ask to pronounce how to pronounce your last name. I almost said coitus.
Nice.
And I was like, I'm pretty sure that's not it. Yeah, Nick Kokis painted this. I don't know if anybody can guess what this is, but if you can guess who this is, I can give you a ticket to the upcoming raffle for the stream. There's a raffle. I'm gonna do like some art. So um Nikki the Claw says that's def not it. Is that the one true Eggman? Pharaoh City, you get a ticket in the raffle. There you go. Good job. And Nikki the Claw says thanks for the shout out. Yeah, of course. Thank you for letting me stream at your house and for letting me feature your painting here. um, yeah, do you I'm gonna look at my notes here. Oh, whoops. I accidentally opened a message from V Falcon on my Snapchat. So if you're listening to this,
Big
I will
oof.
respond to that later. What's that?
Oh, I said big oof.
um, so, uh, what do you think actually, so we talked about some of the negative stuff, like the crazy stuff. What are some of your for people who like do want to do Uber, obviously we don't want to discourage people from doing it. I really love doing it. I know that we bitch about some of the things that happen. That comes with any job, but I was hoping maybe we could talk a bit about some of the stuff that we love about doing Uber or Lyft.
Right. So I would say the biggest positive that I find in doing Uber and Lyft is like you do get to meet so many different people, and the businessman in me likes the grind and likes to be able to like plug things that I'm doing, like with my printers. And kind of getting as many contacts as you can, because there are a lot of people, like there's people that work for the city of Pittsburgh that I got their business cards and I have their phone numbers. um that there's been things that I've called them and been like, hey, I want to do something about this, what do I do? So you kind of get to meet a little bit of everyone throughout the city, and like, I don't want to say that we're all bubbled into class and social structure, but that's kind of how the world works. And doing Lyft and Uber, you kind of break that. I've given Lyft rides to people that it was a $25 ride. I took them to a nice, fancy gated community, and they tipped me $200 and was like, "You ever need a job, call me," and gave me a business card. And I've
Oh.
also met people that I've taken straight to the deepest of ghetto in Pittsburgh that there's gated guards to get in and out of it. And whenever we get to their house, they hand me a baggie of weed and are like, "Yo, you're a G."
That's
It's
awesome.
right. You're gonna meet every kind of person inside of a city.
Oh
So you
yeah.
kind of get to break that class and social structure for your interaction with other humans, which I think is it's really good. You know, it's given me a lot broader and I would say more adult horizon on how the world is. And I've met some amazing people while I do it. You know, there was a group of college students that I took to a concert, and there was an African American female who was like, I really hate guns, and I was like, whoa, bro, that's a bold statement to say when you get into a car. And she was like, yeah, sorry, we're talking about this thing that they're talking about in college. And I was like, well, listen, dude, like I'm a military veteran and I'm very pro Second Amendment. And I believe that pretty much anyone should carry a gun if they can and they feel competent to. That way it gives everyone a safer environment to live in. Um, and I'd really like to have an adult conversation with you about that. But if it's going to be something that like gets you really upset and frustrated, I don't want to do that to you and cause an argument with you. And I'd be more than willing to talk to you about something else.
Mhm.
And she was like, wow, that's the most adult right wing conversation starter I've ever had. And I was like, yeah, well, let's start there. Let's stop saying right and left wing and let's just talk about facts and see which one sounds the best for everyone.
Mhm.
So I've had some really enlightened and good conversations with people that I feel in my normal social structure. I don't really hang out with a lot of people that aren't pro Second Amendment, so I don't get to hear those differing opinions and sides. As to where whenever I drive Lyft, I meet yet again just a variety of people, so I get to see a wider scope and understanding of how the world is.
Yeah, I think that's great. And my dad, he's very very liberal, huge pro Second Amendment person though too. And I don't have anything against guns. Like I've gone hunting with my stepdad and it's an activity we enjoy together, but I personally can't own a gun because I have like had way too many mental health issues in the past. I've never been like committed. It's not that I can't legally own a gun, but like somebody told me like if you've ever thought about killing yourself, maybe don't own a gun cuz like that's the way I would do it. I've thought about killing myself before and that's the only way I would do it is with a gun.
Right.
And so if I just don't
Um,
have that, what works for you maybe not doesn't work for another person, but that's okay. We're all
right.
different.
And I would say with that as well, like I am personally somebody that has dealt with mental health issues as well. And like I have attempted suicide with a firearm before. So I would say for anyone that does have mental health issues but also does want to own a firearm, um, it's kind of a point where you have to like have a sit down meeting with yourself and be like, okay, is there a realistic chance that this is going to happen again? And if I do decide that I want to own firearms in that situation, have a fail safe system. So I have two close relatives that live within 20 minutes of me, and then a whole network of friends that kind of span across the country. That there's an agreement between them and myself and Danny. Ryan is one of these people, so you can even fact check this story for me if you'd like. But um, I can call any of them in a moment's notice and be like, "Hey, I need you to come pick up my guns," and they will drop what they're doing, come to my house, take all of the firearms and ammunition out of the house, no questions asked. And I would say that would be the best way to approach that kind of situation.
That's actually really good advice and it's not something I've ever considered before, but
Right. And I would also say like
yeah.
there's no shame in not having firearms in your home. You know what I mean? Like my wife is very much against owning firearms. And we have a 6 month old in the house, and the conversation has had happened where it was like, okay, well, when he's big enough to crawl and when he's big enough to walk, we need to readdress whether it's a good idea to have guns in the house or not.
Yeah.
Um, and not only as somebody who owns guns and believes in them, but also as like a veteran and somebody who is trained to be proficient in using a weapon to take a life. It's okay to not own a gun. It's something that I feel. A lot of people are like, oh, well, I'm losing out if I don't have one because it's my right to have one. It's your right to choose whether you have one or not, and that's where people need to focus more.
That makes sense. Yeah, I really like that. And I appreciate you being open and honest about your experiences with suicide and sharing, your plan that if anything were to happen, that I'm really happy for you that you have a community of people and people in your life that love you and care about you who will be able to, in a moment's notice come over and uh, just make sure that you're safe, you know.
Right,
Yeah. My mom wanted to get me a gun when I was getting into hunting, and I didn't want to like freak her out and tell her why I didn't want a gun, because I just, that's a hard thing to tell your mom.
right,
Um, but I I told her that I didn't want one and that I wasn't comfortable with it, and she respected that. I didn't have to go into details. Um, but I also like think that I'm probably not responsible enough to own a gun. Like I have two pairs of glasses because I keep losing one and then I find the other. So I feel like if I like misplace a gun, then somebody's gonna go commit murder with fucking with my gun, and then I'm gonna fucking be framed for murder and be like, no, I lost it, you guys, and they're gonna be like, right, and I'm be like, no, I lose
right,
everything.
right. Hey,
um.
real quick, I gotta grab my son real quick, and I'm
Oh
gonna use
yeah.
the potty, and then I'll be back in like 10 minutes.
Okay.
I just wanted to let you know why I was going dark for a second.
Oh yeah, that's totally fine. The chat says, Pharaoh City says it looks super good, referring to the Eggman painting, and Nikki the Claw actually was who painted it. I struggle with my words there for a second. Says thanks, glad you like it. So yeah, shout out to Nikki the Claw. And Nikki, do you take commissions? If you do take commissions, you can plug your artwork in my stream. And uh, you know, if that's something you want to do, but of course, no pressure. Um, and yeah, I really resonate a lot with what Richie had said about getting different perspectives from everybody. I really love like um, getting writers from all different countries and learning about their cultures, learning about the differences between their culture and the American culture that they've been exposed to. Um, you know, it makes me really fortunate to, I know that I kind of shit on America where I live, because I'm like, oh, it could be better, it could be better. But like hearing, this woman from Jamaica had told me that, in the tribe that she came from, if she got married and if her uncles didn't approve of her groom, they would never, the whole family would never treat that person like a member of the family ever. And meanwhile, in America, you could just go to court and get married. You can elope and like everything's fine. But the cultural differences of like how families work there, or like I had a man from one country, I can't remember where, say that the culture shock coming from a country where you could get killed for being gay, and then coming to Pittsburgh where, uh, you know, you can openly be gay and be proud of it. Um, he's changed his opinion now where he's like pro LGBT, but he told me about how it was a culture shock for him, and it was really fascinating learning about his experience and his transformation in his beliefs. Um, and it it really was eye opening to. It makes me really grateful for the life I have. I've had homeless people that I drive. I've had people who I had a woman who was in several women in abusive relationships who told me about their story. In fact, Uber was what convinced me to create this stream, because talking people through hard times um, gave me such a purpose in life that I decided I want to be able to do this um, on a scale that I can completely focus on psychology and mental health. And that's how I started the stream, because of me doing this job. Um, Nikki the Class says I used to, but commissions got to be way too troublesome. Yeah, I feel that. I kind of get that way too, where it's just like hard for me to like have emotional energy to do them, depending on what it is. Drawing porn was fun. I enjoyed doing that. Londonderry Danny says hello. Hey Danny, how are you doing? If you're just hopping in now, just letting you know. So the friend I was interviewing, he has a baby, so he's gonna go check on his son real quick. His mother-in-law is babysitting him, but he went to go check on him real quick, and he'll be back. So I was just sharing some of my personal Uber experiences. Um, So, Londonderry Danny says, I am good, and okay, okay. Um, yeah, after Richie comes back, we'll probably talk a little bit more and then end the stream because I'm getting a little hungry. And we'll probably wrap some things up. But, yeah, what did you guys think of the stream so far? And also, do you have any questions that you would like to ask Richie when he comes back or ask me? Um, I I really one of my other favorite things about working for Uber is choosing my own schedule. I feel like I have my life back. I feel like if I need a mental health day, I can take it. Um, I feel like I can afford things that help my mental and physical health better now. Um, I can I just feel like I have more control of my life. I don't have like to have to worry about like a mean boss or anything. So, those are a few of my favorite things. Richie, are you back?
Hey, Danny, I'm back.
Hey, what's up? I was just catching him up on a couple things. I was telling him my favorite things about Uber, and I
Can you hear
mentioned
me?
about what's that? Richie? Hello. I'm gonna try hanging up and calling you back. Louis says, I'm enjoying the stream. It's interesting to hear you and Richie both describe how there are good interactions. There are good interactions,
Yeah.
not only bad. Richie, can you hear me?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now. I'm just reading.
Okay, sick.
Okay, I'm reading a couple comments here. And Louis says, hearing so many perspectives must be fascinating. Yeah, I'm really glad that we both have like a majority of good experiences with this, and I definitely don't want to put a bad spin on it. I think, uh, when I worked an office job in a cubicle, just the days ran together, and it sucks when the most interesting stories that you have to tell from the office are like, oh, somebody sent me a passive aggressive email. Nobody gives a shit about that. But being like,
Right?
yeah, but being like, hey, somebody tipped me 2 tabs of acid and 2 cuts of shrooms. It's like, hey, tell me more.
Right.
True story.
And it's crazy. Like, I went from driving Lyft to now I work in an office job. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
And I'm miserable. Oh, am I miserable? And that's exactly what it is. There's a 9 to 5 grind. Every day blends together. Like, I've been at this job for 6 months, and it feels like I've been here for 6 years.
Oh my god.
Which I'm not saying, like, I don't want my employers to hear this possibly and think that I'm like, oh, it's the worst place to work ever. It's not. I enjoy what I do, and it's not a bad thing that I do. It's just 9 to 5s are rough, and I'm sure
Yeah.
everyone at some extent can say that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah. I used to when I had a very sporadic schedule, cause uh yeah, I just used to have a sporadic schedule working different jobs, like working at Denny's or whatever, and I thought, "Oh, when I have a consistent schedule, I'm going to love it." And then once I got an office job, like I only got 10 days off a year, not including like weekends or like holidays, but like 10 days when if I needed a break, I could take it, and it was so fucking exhausting. Like I never felt so fucking burnt out. And don't get me wrong, I loved what I did, but it just was exhausting, and I'm not meant to pay attention to anything that long. Like at least if I'm driving, I can kind of like just sort of get in my head and think about shit, or like call a friend while I'm between rides or whatever, and it breaks up the day. Or like anytime I need to take a break, I could take a break. Or if I need to pull over and take a nap, like I don't have, or if I wake up and I'm tired, I could go back to sleep. I don't have to be fucking trying to get away with sleeping at my desk because I'm so sleep deprived because I couldn't fall asleep the night before and I have to be up or I'll be in the fucking unemployment line.
Right. And on top of that, like driving's an adventure. You know what I mean? There's so many like cool little places that I know about in Pittsburgh that I would have never known about no matter how long I lived in that city.
Yeah, it there's sirens in the background. I don't know if that's audible. But yeah, there's so many places that I pass by and I'm like, oh, I gotta check that out, or like I'll take people to it and I'm like, oh, what's that place? Oh shit, that's cool. And like I've become like sort of a concierge of the city where people will get in and be like, what's good around here? And I'm like, well, let me tell you. Um,
Right. And like to the adventure aspect more, like look at we have a mutual friend named Ryan.
mhm.
Um, he bought an RV, is refurbishing it, and now is going to travel a state a month and just drive in all the major cities in the country. And
Yeah,
he's going to do it all by driving Lyft. You know what I mean? So it is doable to any extent that you want it to be, and it gives you that freedom to go and do what you want. You know what I mean? Like if you want to start out being a vlogger and you need a job that lets you travel anywhere, there you go. You know, it's a whole new means and aspect for people, especially people that are in a lower poverty rate. You know what I mean? Somebody that's you know, like just moved to the country and doesn't have any of their paperwork that they would need to get an office job. You know, they can go start driving Lyft today as long as they have a valid driver's license.
oh yeah, the application process is so quick. You don't need to go through an interview. You just like you don't have any DUIs and you have a good driving record and whatnot. Like you're good. Like you watch a few videos about how to not be fucking creepy and that's yeah. And if you
Which to any normal person would be common sense anyway, you know? So it's
yeah,
not, that's the nice thing. If you want to make $1,000 a week, you can do that. You want to make $200 a week and use it as a side hustle, go for it. And
yeah.
that's the key factor here is you get to set the schedule, you get to decide where you're driving. So take advantage of those aspects and use it to its fullest potential for you.
Yeah, definitely. I feel so much more control for my life. Like, last weekend, I wanted to go see John Mulaney, so I just took off that weekend. Or if like, because I only work weekends, weekdays, I could do whatever I want. I can go to doctor's appointments and I don't have to make up the time. I don't have to like I can just get shit done that I need to do and I take 4 days off a
Right.
week and it's amazing. And I do
And I
better
will
for
say
myself.
this. So with it being so much of a you make your own schedule system, you also like you have to be conscious of what you're doing whenever you go, okay, well, I'm going to drive tomorrow, and then tomorrow turns into a week from now, and you still have bills to pay.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I've been the driver in both instances. I've been the driver where I drive set 12 hours a day, 5 days a week, and I take Monday and Tuesday off because they're the least profitable days. And I go through and look at the analytics of the most busy times and make sure that I'm driving then and getting the most money for my effort. And I've also been the driver that like this is my full time job, but I only drive 2 days a week, and I'm not making enough money to pay my bills. So now my girlfriend has to pay my rent. You know,
Mhm.
so as somebody that's been in both of those situations, like I strongly encourage if you're going to decide to make Lyft your main source of income or Uber or any driving service, make sure that you can personally dedicate the actual amount of time that you need to be able to afford your bills and expenses.
Yeah.
Because it's not the app's fault, and it's not that you just have so many slow days in a row. It's the fact that you're not putting the effort into it to get the returns that you need. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I've noticed there are some slow days. Um
Which there are, and I'm not saying
yeah.
it doesn't happen, but you know, like if you're telling people there were slow days just because you didn't want to go out and drive, then maybe you need to reconsider being able to make your own schedule.
Yeah, or like go out on days where it's busy, like, I don't rarely go out on weekends because I drive 12-hour days, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And so,
Right.
a lot of weekend events, I miss that, but it's like, hey, I would rather do that, make my money, and then take off 4 days and do my stream, hang out with friends, have my me time, get done with stuff that I need to around the house. I have time to do all of these things. Even if I miss some event on the weekend, or like, hey, if I take a weekend off every once in a while, that's okay because there's weekends where I really bust ass, or I'll have like a set number, like, okay, 25 rides Friday, 25 Saturday, and 20 Sunday, and that's usually what I do. If I'm taking it easy, maybe I'll like do less, but like I always have a goal in mind. And if you're a goal oriented person, if you're good at making your own schedule, if you're good at being motivated in that way, that's one thing. If you you know, like you said, if you're not putting in the effort, and because like I know our friend Willard, it was sad because he would get really depressed, and he would get depressed about not making a lot of money, and that would make him too depressed to drive, which is like a sort of a catch
Right. And
22.
it's a hard conversation for me and Willard because me and Willard have had such an up and down relationship. But from us living together, like Willard let me drive his van so I could pay my rent, and I will always be in his debt, and I thank him for that.
Hmm.
And there's other aspects where there's been like, bro, I've seen you, stream for 16 hours straight, but you're telling me you can't drive more than 5 hours in a row to be able to pay your bills. So that frustrated me. But I also get the depression aspect of it. You know what I mean? Like I've been in that same boat, and it's hard to dig yourself out of those holes when you're in them. Um so nothing, I wouldn't say that I'm not friends with Willard now, and not that I wouldn't welcome him into my home. Um but it's hard, if you especially if you have roommates or significant others. A big thing is if you're not going to hold yourself responsible, it's going to cause a lot of tension and strain in those personal relationships you have. Um, so yeah, not trying to scare anyone away from doing it as their main profession. I definitely feel that it's doable and achievable. Um, just make sure that you're goal oriented. If
Yeah.
you've ever been convinced that a pyramid scheme was a good idea, you'll probably be a great person to drive for Lyft because the more effort you put in, the more money you make, and that'll motivate you more. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and you get tipped in drugs.
Right? I've gotten so many drugs, it's amazing.
Oh, also, Louis the Claw says that's a good point, Richie. I actually find relief in the structure that comes from being expected in the office at a certain time. Yeah, I mean, that's the thing is, like I said, just with the gun thing, and same with the office job or being an independent contractor, what works for one person, or religion, it's sort of a repeated mantra in today's conversation. What works for one person might not work for another person, and that's okay. Everybody's different. This just happens to be what works for me, and it works for you, Richie, and I think that's great, and I really love what I
Right?
do. I'm grateful for it, and even though I bitch about it sometimes, it's like I try to also say, like, hey, I got tipped in a homemade chocolate chip cookie, or somebody just tipped me a whole ass jar of homegrown weed that smells dank, or and I try not to be all negative about it, but like I think it's okay sometimes to be like, oh my God, listen to this, listen to what this nut job did, because it's like it's not a
Right?
bad thing to talk about it, but you don't want it to dominate. You don't want that negativity to
Yeah,
dominate your
you want to
feelings
you want
about
to
it.
vent the frustrations, and you want to talk about just the wackadoo shit that you see. But
Mhm.
on that same note, I've had this conversation with other people. I hear too many people, I wouldn't drive Lyft or Uber because of, there's these crazy people. I heard this one story, or that guy that got shot in New York. Like, yeah, things happen, but it's public interaction, Um, so don't expect every day that you go out driving Lyft that, some crazy dude's gonna come and touch your nipple. Like, it's not every day. It's
Yeah.
just every once in a while there is a crazy dude that'll try to get you to touch his nipple.
I know that my family was really concerned about me doing Uber. And I was like, well, look at the risks of when I was an EMT. I could have caught a disease that could, last my whole life. I have delivered psych patients that could have attacked me. I delivered a guy who was like telling me about an experience where he got accused of raping a girl, and it was pretty scary being in the back of an ambulance by myself with him. You get you never know what you're going to see. You could have psychological trauma from seeing some of the stuff. I had an EMT coworker who responded to a call that his best friend shot himself in the head, and that was a call he responded to. You're going to see that in a lot of jobs that you have. There's going to be risk, and you have to ask yourself, is this a risk I'm willing to accept? And at the end of the day, the things that I love about my job, yes, I accept that there's risks. I accept that there's things that might go wrong. I accept that there's ways I'm going to have to learn to navigate things to de-escalate stuff, and I'm okay with that. I'm way happier, and I mean, my office job, I wanted to fucking kill myself. And guess what? I don't want to kill myself with my Uber job. So I would so much rather be in the situation I'm in now. In a way, I feel safer doing this than I did in my last job, if that makes sense.
Right? Definitely. And like it's not like I saw more blood and gore when I managed a gas station than when I was in the military. And mind you, I didn't deploy and I didn't see combat, but just think of that.
That's
It's
crazy.
it's just the simple fact that human interaction is going to put you in situations that aren't normal.
Yeah.
And that's okay, and we shouldn't be afraid of the public because of that. It's We should just be conscious, and people who are of enough sound mind to have rational logic should understand that um, if you try to de-escalate the situation, 9 times out of 10 it will, and the one time out of those 10, um, if you can't defend yourself in a manner that is needed, um, then get yourself to somebody who can, or get yourself in a situation where you can be separated from that person. As a Lyft or Uber driver, you need to understand that there might be a situation where somebody loses it in your back seat, and you need to be okay with leaving them in your car and walking away from the car, because your personal safety is a lot more important than the safety of the interior of your vehicle, and the police are probably going to make them pay for whatever they do to your car anyway. So let them pay for it while you get a new interior.
And put the car in park and take out the keys so they don't hijack your car.
Yeah, please, for the love of God, don't leave the keys in the car.
Well, I I feel like we really had a great conversation today, and I don't want to take up too much of your time. I know that you have your baby to take care of, and I really appreciate you coming on, and I really liked what we talked about today.
Yeah, definitely, dude. Anytime you wanna have me back on, I'm down to talk about whatever. I like to think I'm a philosophical person, so I can talk really long about a lot of small dumb things.
Yeah, I'd like to I'll reach out to you about doing one about your experience working at Sheets. For those of you who don't live in PA, it's a gas station. Um but yeah, I'll reach out to you about that. It sounds like you have a lot of really interesting stories with that. So, yeah, I'll hit you up, and thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, definitely, dude. Anytime.
All right. Well, Richie, I'm gonna let you go. Thank you so much, and thank you guys so much for joining today. Louis the Claw says, "Great stream. Thanks, guys." Oh, thanks, Louis. I really appreciate all of you for joining today, and anybody that subbed to my channel. I'm really grateful for you. I couldn't make this happen if it weren't for you guys, and like I said, this really brings a lot of meaning to my life doing this stream, and I wouldn't have been able to get as far as I have with this if it weren't for you guys. You guys have given me a camera, a light, support, spread the word about me, emotional support, encouragement, ideas for the streams. You've come on my streams. You've let me host my streams at your places. So just thank you so much, all of you, for all of the amazing support, even you interacting with the chat, or even if you just pop in as a viewer. Everything that you guys have done, I just have so much gratitude for you guys. Um, V Falcon says, thanks for the stream. And Pharaoh City says, thanks for a great series of conversation. And Londonderry Danny says, thank you for the stream. And Chad Zilch says, awesome stream. Thank you guys so much. You guys are, oh, I just bumped the mic. You guys are really amazing. And I'm really grateful for you guys. I know I keep saying it, but I just want you guys to know. Um, all right. Well, see you guys and see you, Richie. And I will see you guys tomorrow for the stream on how to be a good friend. All right. See ya.